Welcome, Japanese woodblock print collectors and enthusiasts. Today we are continuing our series on famous Japanese woodblock print artists, and we'll be highlighting a lesser known, but as you'll see, an important and very talented artist by the name of Utagawa Yoshiiku. As usual, we'll start with some bio information, and then we'll dive into some of his prints and print series. Let's go. Utagawa Yoshiiku, also known as Ochiai Yoshiiku, was born in 1833 as the son of the owner of a tea house. When he was a teenager, Yoshiiku became a student of the famous artist Kuniyoshi, who we just did a video on the other week. At the same time, Tsukiyoka Yoshitoshi was also a student of Kuniyoshi, and it's reported that they were rivals. In fact, that Yoshiiku bullied Yoshitoshi, who was 6 years younger. Kuniyoshi once compared the two students by saying, "Yoshitoshi is awkward but enthusiastic, and while Yoshiiku's technique is better, he lacks the same enthusiasm." Despite their initial conflicts, both Yoshiiku and Yoshitoshi collaborated in later years on a groundbreaking series of prints that I'll be showing you. They also used the same writers and publishers, and I'm sure they had respect for each other's work. Life is too short for conflicts, right? Okay, let's dig into the prints. I'm going to go somewhat chronologically. Like most students who are starting their careers, Yoshiiku assisted his master Kuniyoshi in several series, like this one from 1852, Celebrated Treasures of Mountains and Seas, where Yoshiiku did the background landscape and Kuniyoshi the foreground. Also, in this print from the series, The Complete Alphabetic Primer of Fuji in the Eastern Capital, Yoshiiku again designed the inset landscape. In 1859, he created this triptych that shows Minamoto no Yorimoto, I love saying that, Minamoto no Yorimoto, crossing the Uji River to defeat his enemy. We can already see what an expert he's become in working with the conventions of the Utagawa school. In 1861, Kuniyoshi died, and Yoshiiku designed this memorial portrait of him. After Kuniyoshi's death, Yoshiiku was considered to be his best student until about 10 years later, when Yoshitoshi began to outshine him. In the 1860s, Yokohama-e, or pictures of foreigners, were trending because the port of Yokohama was open to foreigners and the Japanese were naturally curious about them. Ukiyo-e artists like Yoshiiku produced many prints called Yokohama-e, or Yokohama pictures, to help the Japanese understand how foreigners from different countries looked and dressed. Like Kuniyoshi, Yoshiiku was also fond of humorous prints, like this one. The title in the fishing net in the upper right reads, "A parody of goldfish with actors' expressions." And here's a print titled "The Story of Otomi and Yosaburo," with actors as cats. In 1867, Yoshiiku designed a series of warrior prints called Heroes of Taiheiki. These designs were very similar to Kuniyoshi's style. In fact, it's a bit difficult to tell them apart. Here's one from Kuniyoshi's series, so you can see what I mean. Also in 1867, we have this much more innovative series of 36 actor silhouettes called Portraits as True Likenesses in the Moonlight. These prints were inspired by popular shadow performances where actors performed behind a sliding door with a bright light behind them. And these profiles were very lifelike and quite unusual for the time. 1867 was a busy year because it also brings us 28 Famous Murders with Verse, a collaborative series with his former rival Yoshitoshi. Each artist did 14 prints for this series. And these types of images were called muzan-e, or cruel pictures, because they depicted bloody and gruesome acts of murder or torture based on historical events or scenes. This is also thought to be the first known example of eroguro, or the erotic grotesque, in Japanese culture, and it's influenced modern-day art formats such as manga and films. Okay, quick visual palette cleanse here for this famous triptych titled Competition of Slender White Hips in the Willow Bathhouse from the series Annual Customs of the Present Day. Many artists did similar bathhouse scenes, but I think Yoshiiku's is the most well-known. Anyone that knows me knows I love restaurant prints, and in 1869 he designed this series called Colors of Spring at 36 Restaurants. It depicts famous restaurants of the day and the geishas or entertainers that were associated with them. It's a decent series, quite pretty, but I prefer Kunichika and Yoshitoshi's restaurant prints. I was surprised to find this next print series. When I first saw it, I thought, wow, they look a bit like photographs. And then I found out that that was the goal. These are kabuki actors from the 1870 series Mirror of Photographs of Actors. I think he was the first artist to imitate photographs in this manner with woodblock prints. Also from 1870, we have this interesting triptych called The Flourishing of an English Trading Firm in Yokohama. This really gives us a visual on how European businesses operated at that time in Japan. Now we come to a big piece of the Yoshiiku story, because starting in 1874, he worked for about 10 years on various newspaper and magazine projects. And this was before photography, so ukiyo-e artists were hired to add exciting images to newspapers. At the Tokyo Nichi-Nichi Shimbun, or the Daily News, Yoshiiku designed many color newspaper inserts with sensational news stories. Here are a few from this series. We have Swallowed by a Wani, the story about how sailors were eaten by a shark. The headline on this one is Chushingura Actor Shot, where an actor was shot during the performance of a play because the gun was accidentally loaded with real bullets. Next, we have the sensational story of a policeman that kills 3 yatori women. And this print shows 2 sumo wrestlers trying to stop a fire from spreading by breaking apart the building. Later, Yoshiiku founded the Hiragana e Iri Shinbun, which is an illustrated newspaper written in a simpler reading style without so much emphasis on the complex Chinese kanji. And these types of publications were very popular with the lower class of society that wanted entertainment and serialized stories. Okay, now let's see some ghosts. In 1890, he produced a series called 100 Tales. Here we have Ame Onna, or Rain Woman. It's a Japanese yokai thought to call forth rain. In modern Japan, Ame Onna, or for men, Ame Otoko, refers to an unlucky person that always seems to be walking under a cloud of rain. And here we have Spectre frightening a young woman, which pulls its ghost character directly from Hokusai's famous print. Even though these prints are heavily modeled after other artists' works, I can't get enough of these types of images. Here we have a female demon or ghost. Not sure what the title is. Look how modern the style looks though, even though it was produced 135 years ago. And as a side note, I just saw this painting attributed to Yoshiiku sell at auction. It really looks to be the same character. Here's another one titled Ghost of a Woman. She is dressed in a white shroud. This print is modeled after a ghost painting by Maruyama Okyo. I'll end with this 1895 print series called A Comical Record of Japanese History, which illustrates the Japanese military victory against China in 1894. And it's also a parody of the Night Parade of 100 Demons. There are 9 prints that you can match up to show a complete story. Yoshiiku struggled during his last years, producing his last print in 1903. He had 10 children with his second wife, but only one survived past childhood. Yoshiiku died at age 71 in 1904 in Honjo. He was buried at a temple in Asakusa. Yoshiiku's prints can be found today in most of the major art museums, and I think his work is an artistic and interesting addition to any woodblock print collection. I hope you've enjoyed this profile of Utagawa Yoshiiku. Please like and subscribe, and happy collecting!